Hi, Ron LeGrand here. Before we get started with the podcast, I thought you might want to know that I recently recorded a 90-minute online training about how we make so much money today in the terms business. That's on pretty houses in pretty neighborhoods, not the junk houses that we have to go rehab or wholesale. I go through step by step on exactly what I and thousands of my students are doing right now to make the fastest and the easiest money in real estate without using your money or credit. If you're interested in doing just that, go to thementorpodcast.com/free training. See you there.
Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Hello, everybody. Ron LeGrand here, and welcome to another edition of the Mentor Podcast. And I have with me David from Pat Live, which is a company that we have been working with for, over 20 years. I know. That's that. Right. It's our 24-hour answering service that I talk about every time I take the platform or beyond. So today I thought we'd dig in deep and find out why you would want to use Pat Live and the services that Pat Live offers for the very minimal cost and the value of it to your business, if in fact you would rather not be bugged by the telephone all day, every day while you're trying to buy and sell houses. And in fact, David, there might be listeners who have other uses for Pat Live that don't want to answer the telephone. I mean, we've used it for many situations, like when we are running a radio ad or something, let Pat Live take the call. So you guys think beyond real estate investors here, because this is a service you can use in a lot of businesses. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and Pat Live? By the way, I am reasonably certain that there are more people watching this today that are not Pat Live customers than are Pat Live customers. So we got to make sure everybody's clear on what exactly Pat Live does and then how to get to it. All right.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Like you said, we're a 24/7 live answering service. Take calls live in-house. And all of our reps are domestic here in the United States. I'm the director of customer service. I've been with the company for 18 years now. So a long time, but not as long as the relationship that you've had with Pat Live.
Yeah, I got seniority over you then, don't I?
That's right. You do. I actually commented that I started with the company just answering the phones when I was in college, and I was taking calls for your events and registering people for, I can remember registering people for Ron LeGrand events 18 years ago.
Good grief, where did it all go? Boy, shoot, just like that.
Time flies when you're having fun.
In fact, most of your employees are college students, aren't they?
That's a good percentage. Yeah. We've been based out of Tallahassee. And so a lot historically of our people, we have big college campus, FSU in Tallahassee. Historically, we've had a lot of college students. Now we've actually branched out that we're remote and we're in a couple different states. So we've got some redundancy, which is nice. Yeah. And so we've expanded a little bit, but yeah, that's always been a big.
And the good news is they all speak clear, fluent English.
That's right.
They're all very well-mannered and polite folks, and they're all very well trained, which over the years, I've called from live events and tested Pat Live on other people's.
That's right.
Many times, and they always do the job. They always do a great job, actually. So you're a 24-hour answering service, and you take inbound calls.
Inbound calls, that's right.
To be clear, you don't make outbound calls. So please don't confuse this with our VA service, folks. Our VAs make outbound calls, but if you're getting your customer by phone, somebody has to take the inbound call before our VAs can make the outbound call and get the information that you need to be able to buy houses. So go ahead and tell us, first of all, if I want to get set up on Pat Live, what it costs and how to go about it and what are the benefits of doing it?
Sure. So it's a pretty easy process. We're obviously available by phone. 800-775-7790 can call us anytime. Set up that way.
Say it again.
That's probably one of the most convenient ways, but also go into the website. Works as well. And
the website in this case is ronlegrand.com /Pat Live. That's
right.
PATLIVE. Need to say that number again, please.
The phone number?
Yeah.
That's 800-775-7790.
All right. All this is a service which simply answers the telephone. And when they do, a computer screen pops up.
That's right.
That is dedicated to your customer. And I always tell them, David, when you set Pat Live up, make sure you tell them that you want an account for both buying and selling houses. One account to accomplish both. If you forget that, you're going to wind up having two accounts, which are $199 a month for this service. And includes 250 minutes, correct?
That's right. And important that they go to the website that you mentioned, or call us and mention that they were referred by you, because we do have that program where we give both the buying and the selling scripts, two different scripts, but do that on one account for one price. So that's not something that we typically do. If they were to just go to like our regular website and sign up, that pricing wouldn't be available. Getting the two scripts wouldn't be available. That's something we've done custom for you and for your students. So really important that they do that they mention you or go to that website to get the right package there. But yeah, I think you're right. It helps to have the separate buying and the separate selling. And in this case, they actually get 6 phone numbers, 3 for buying, 3 for selling. So if they want to test out some different marketing, obviously doing yellow letters,
we'll
but maybe doing some signs or other things.
I do need to cover that before I forget it. At my age, I forget very quickly, David. In fact, I've already forgotten it. Oh, you're also going to waive the $149 setup fee as well. And
great point. Typically $149.95 to set up. We always waive that at events for anybody that comes to one of your events, but we'll do that for the podcast as well. Waive that so there's no sign-up fee.
Also, you're going to give them 90 days with no overage in case they go over the 250 minutes, which ain't likely because you only charge by the minute.
That's right.
So, if they're on the phone 4 minutes, you don't get charged for an hour or whatever. So 250 minutes is a lot of time answering the phone live, especially if you take a look at my scripts. So that's another reason to go through my website, because when they know you're my customer, guys and gals, the scripts, they've already got the scripts. However, David, do you happen to have those scripts in front of you?
I do. I've got the buying and the selling list here.
All right. Let's say that I'm buying houses. Could you read me what you would set up for folks if they don't tell you any differently on the buying houses? It's only about 5 or 6 questions.
Right. If we're looking to buy the house, the caller's looking to sell, then on that case, we're doing, is their house for sale? What's the phone number we can reach you at? Email, the address. What are you asking for the house? And then what's the best time to reach you?
Okay.
So really simple. Yep. Keeping it limited there for the VA, so they've got some good info to follow back up on.
2 minutes max. All right, unless the seller gets chatty. So why am I giving such a short script? People will ask. Because all you're trying to do is get Pat Live to capture that call so that you can then forward it to the virtual assistant. They'll fill out the property information sheet. The Pat Live is not trained to fill out the property information sheet. So let's make this perfectly clear. You don't want them to, because it'll cost you more than the VAs will cost you anyway. They are trained and monitored daily to fill out these sheets. We call about 60,000 of your customers per month with our VA service. So let people do what they do best. And in this case, Pat Live takes the inbound, VA makes the outbound. So we don't need much information. Notice that I stuck in there, and then, do you have a house for sale? And there's a reason I did that. It's because a lot of people don't have a house. I don't know why they called.
That's right.
I swear, they always have. I don't even know why they call. Maybe they just want somebody to talk to, but they don't even have a house for sale. Or maybe they're a realtor trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know. I don't really care.
Right.
So obviously, if they don't have a house for sale, we don't need to ask them much more. And on the other side, when I'm selling houses, then I basically what I want to know, what are they looking at? How much can they put down? How much can they pay per month? Because those are 2 very important questions that I need to know before I want to spend any time with them. So if I'm trying to sell a $400,000 house and they got $1,000 down and they can handle $1,000 a month, obviously they're not going in this house. So I have to decide whether I want to call them or not. Guys, that cuts way, way down on the calls with buyers. Buyers will give you 10 times more calls than sellers will. And they are true time wasters and they all ask the same questions. So get this now, because this is part of the systems. Pat Live takes the call off of you, but then they get the information to determine whether you even want to bother calling back. Can you imagine how much time that's going to save you? So these scripts are there. They're working. They've been working for 20 years. Don't mess with them. Leave them alone. All right. So, Dave, when you guys are taking their order, you ask them how they want the phone answered, right?
That's right.
Okay. And what are you telling them?
So we're telling customers we've got the script in place, that you've already got the template. We can customize that, and obviously, we'll customize with their name or their business name off the jump. But if there's something specific that they need collected in there, then we can do that as well. Get that information, and then we typically email it over. As soon as the call is done, you'll get an email, and that could be emailed straight to the VA as well.
No, we don't want it emailed straight to the VA. So, guys, listen to me clearly. Must go through you first, because if it doesn't, you might have your VA calling on stuff you don't want being called on and wasting your VA time. So it goes through you first, and you forward it. But you also do it by text, don't you?
We can, yeah.
Text and email. Okay. So you instantly get this message out to our clients, and then they should forward it to VA. VA call, gets the sheet filled out. Then you make the outbound closing call, which is simple scripts that I have if you have not been trained by me. Now, when you set this up, you have one page for buying and one page for selling, right? So they simply ask, are you calling to buy or sell? If they say I'm calling to sell, then they punch a button and that page pops up with that script you just went over right on it. Just really that simple. And we need to make it clear to everybody here, Dave, that Pat Live is not in the real estate business. These folks barely can spell real estate. They don't know anything about real estate. They're there to fill in blanks, all right? Not to ask real estate questions, not to negotiate with your sellers. And that's all they do. So that's all you want them to do. So as well as I know, the biggest question on people's minds is, why on earth do I need Pat Live? Why don't they just drive them to my answering system?
And I think we both know the answer, which is people don't leave voicemails. People don't like to hit an answering machine. They don't like to talk to voicemail. And so you're going to miss a lot of potential opportunity if you direct them to I've had people try to answer on their cell phone, like, oh, no, I'll take the calls. Mm-hmm. Trust me, you won't. You're going to have the kids' soccer game, or you're going to have something that comes up where you're not available. You don't want to be taking that call. You've got better things to do with your time. And then the other thing is we're 24/7. Calls could come in anytime, any day of the week. And so that's what we were there for. All
right. So this was a hard one probably to get people's head around. I've been preaching it for a long time now. So I'm telling you right now, you real estate investors or potential real estate investors, if you're going to take your own inbound calls, it's going to cost you more deals than you're going to lose more deals by far than it would take to pay for Pat Live for the next 50 years. Believe the old man when I tell you, okay, been at this for 40 years. And the last thing you want to do is take inbound calls from sellers for a lot of reasons. Number one, are you available 24 hours a day? No. Number two, are you always in a good mood? No, you're not. You want to make the outbound call when you are prepared and you are in a good mood.
Right.
Number three, are you always available to take the call? Do you have the property information sheet sitting there when you take that call? No, you're driving down the highway trying to take the call, trying to kill yourself while you're. But even worse, you tell them to call you back later because you're driving. There goes that lead. It's gone. I can tell you that right now. If a human does not answer the phone, they're simply going to call somebody else. You lose. You'll never even know you lost the deal because you won't know you missed the call. You just won't. And here's the big one. Here's the real big one. If you insist on taking these calls, most of these people are not going to work with you. They're not going to take terms. They're not going to sell it to you for a price low enough for you to pay cash for. It's very clear that most sellers are worthless. Write that down. You're not going to do business with them. So in other words, if you're taking the calls, you're telling yourself, I got nothing better to do with my time than take calls, mostly from people I'm never going to buy houses from. How long do you think it's going to take for you to get totally turned off, lose your excitement because you're saying there ain't no deals, here. The market is too hot, blah, 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 blah. Excuse. Next thing you know, you talk yourself right out of it, especially if you're hanging around dream stealers who are doing their best to talk you out of it as well because they have no clue what they're talking about. Please condition yourself and start practicing from here forward. Let other people do what they do best. Get out of their way and let them do it. For a measly $200 a month, you're not taking any inbound calls from buyers or sellers. They are being screened before you get on the phone with them, which means you're going to get on the phone with maybe 5% of the people you normally will if you take all these calls yourself. So, all right, I'm going to get off my soapbox here. I did a pretty good job there, didn't I, Dave?
You did.
Okay. All right. You got a lot of things going on with Pat Life. You mentioned 6 numbers. So
That's
they
right.
get 6 numbers with their area code in them. And
That's right.
honestly, you don't care what they use them for, because frankly, they could easily use 6 numbers just buying houses. Because
That's right. Sure.
So guys, you got to have 1 number per media. In other words, if you're putting a sign on your vehicle, that's a number. If you are running ads online, that's a number. If you are doing any direct mail, that's a number. Because if you don't have 1 number per media, you got no way to track those calls when they come through. So explain how that works, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. So each number, like you said, is going to be devoted to one piece of media. And so if you send out letters, that's going to have its own phone number. And then you'll be able to see on the website how many calls came in on each number. So you can really track and see. And even on each lead that comes in, you'll be able to tell which number they called so that you can tell, where you're getting the best prospects from, what's reaching the most people and what's getting you the best deals.
So when you set them up, they get a desktop, and on that desktop, it shows where all these calls came from. And
that's right.
That's very important because, guys, if I'm spending any money doing any advertising, I'm not getting any calls, it would appear to me that we probably ought to spend it elsewhere, okay? But if you don't know you're not getting calls, and I'll be honest with you, most businesses in this country have no idea what the results of their marketing is because they don't track it like this, which is so incredibly dumb to me. I mean, I can't imagine having a business where I don't even know how much it costs me to get a call for a customer or whatever, but you will with this simple mechanism. So honestly, if you, let's say you're spending money and whatever you're doing, you're running paid ads online or whatever, you darn sure better figure out what those calls are costing you, because there are times of the year when those calls are going to go through the roof in cost because of the media demand, like around election or Christmas or whatever. And that will tell you slow that down and do something else. So it's the same with buying or selling houses. When you're selling houses, you're going to use different media. You're going to put pointer signs out there. You're going to put ads online, at least the free ads online or whatever. And maybe you're going to put door hangers in the neighborhood. All of these need to be on their own separate number. So Dave, how do I get more numbers and what do they cost if I need them?
So really easy, give us a call and we can add more numbers for you. You can actually do it through the website as well once you're all set up for those who want to self-serve. And then it's $5 per number additional after that.
Per month.
That's right.
Okay. Well, what happens if I get pissed at Pat Live and I want to whack you? Do I lose all those numbers?
No, those numbers belong to you. And so you can port them out. It's a pretty simple process. But yeah, if something happens and for whatever reason you can't continue using Pat Live and you need to, I just need to take these numbers, they're your numbers. You can take them with you when you go.
And there's no long-term agreement with Pat Live. You can put any time you want.
No contract or commitment. And I should also point out that we have a 14-day free trial. So I think that's great too, that people can set up and try the service, no contract, no commitment, anything like that.
You hear my children barking in the background there, Dave?
Yeah. I've got one of my own, a German Shepherd.
They're putting their 2 cents in worth here as well. All right. So we've established you can put any time you want on. There's no setup fee if you go through the ronlegrand.com/Pat Live, and they get 6 numbers. All right. But there's way more to Pat Live than just the inbound service. So you got this thing called Trusta. Explain what that is.
Yeah. So Trust is our automated system, and that's where the numbers actually live. And so the calls come in there and then they're directed to the Pat Live answering service. but Trust gives you some flexibility there. That's where you're going to be able to see all of your reports, tell where the calls are coming from, how many calls are coming to each number, that sort of thing. And then there's that flexibility too, that if you want to use one of those numbers for something else and direct it to a different place, you can do that. You can change the forwarding of where that number's going, really easily. And of course, if you're not tech savvy, you're not comfortable doing that yourself, you can call us. We'll do it for you.
All right, so it seems like I saw texting in there somewhere. Doesn't Trust to have some texting capabilities?
Trust does. Trust has both inbound and outbound texting capability. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, explain how that would work for me. All right, I'm a Pat Live subscriber. You've given me 6 numbers. What numbers do I use to text out on? How do I text out?
So you can use those same 6 numbers. So you'll actually have the ability to get an app on your phone of the Trusta platform. Uh-huh. And then once you've got that on your cell phone, you can choose to text from any of those numbers that you've got through the Trusta app. So it's great too, if you do put some advertising out there and you've got someone who texts that phone number instead of calling it, you can actually get that, see the text on your cell phone.
So in other words,
respond from the same number, so you're not responding from your cell number.
So if somebody's calling me on the number I publish online, then I can text out on that same number, so they might recognize it. And am I texting from my cell phone through that app? Is that
That's right.
Okay, so they don't see my number; they only see that number. That's pretty cool. Right. Pretty cool. Yeah. All right. So, are there any other services that we haven't described that we should talk about with Pat Live?
I think you touched on in the beginning, but just that we do a whole host of things beyond even real estate. I mean, I think that's the focus of this call and probably what most of your people are looking for. But do just want to reiterate that we do have that ability to, not only take messages, but we schedule appointments. Obviously, for your events, we've taken like registration calls, that types of thing. And, we work with doctors and lawyers in a variety of industries as well, and schedule appointments, take messages, do dispatch sometimes we need to call out. So, a variety of things. If people have other needs, they should be aware that, we can do a variety of things.
So Dave, in order to get an account set up with Pat Live, I do need to talk to a human there. Am I correct?
You can technically do it through the website. But then what we're going to need to do is at some point get the, just a couple of details on the script from you. Obviously, we've got your script, but just, your name, that sort of thing, whatever name you're going to be using on letters, that
I know your team ain't going to like hearing this, but guys, I strongly suggest you make the call, because you need to talk about some things. You need to be clear on what Pat Live will do or what it won't do. You need to get your questions answered instead of trying to do everything on the web. For example, I'd want them to play back to me the script that we just did to make sure it's the right script. Plus, they need to know how you answer the phone. And I need to come back to that incidentally, because I do not suggest that they have the phone answered as a company. I do not suggest that at all. People would rather deal with humans. So when I always tell them, answer the phone, hello. We didn't discuss that. Answer the phone, hello. Are you calling about a house for sale, or are you looking to buy a house? All right, and that'll take them to the right script. And then along the way, they're going, actually up front, you're going to say, John and Mary are out right now, and they asked me to get a little information. They'll get back to you shortly.
Right.
That's part of your intro script, right?
That's right. And that's part of the custom information we need, is those names. If it's John and Mary, or if it's Ron or Dave, whoever's going to be kind of the name on the letter.
Mm-hmm. It's names. Encourage them to use names. The public could care less about your company name. They are more interested in dealing with human beings. And by the way, pause. Phone rings. Are you making sure that there's no dead pause gap between the time the phone is answered and somebody comes on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got straight ringing. We don't do hold music to make it sound like you're reaching like an office or something like that. So it'll be just direct ringing, and then the agent picks up and going to go, straight into the hello intro there.
All right. So what happens if I got an issue with Pat Live? What do I do?
So you can call us anytime. And again, I think to your point, that's the best way to handle it is, in person over the phone. And so, we'll work really hard to resolve any issues. We do have a great, I should point out when you're talking about getting set up, we've recently added just in the past year, a couple of new positions we call onboarding specialists. And so those people are really great. They're going to schedule a meeting with you when you sign up, whether you sign up phone or online, and schedule a Zoom session where you can actually jump on, just like we're talking right now over video. You can turn on your video if you want. They'll be on video and talk to you about the process and get you set up and really kind of hold your hand through the whole deal. So I think that's really helped our sign up process and helping our customers get a better feel for what we're going to do on the call and make sure the script is exactly how they want it, all of that. So we will do that. And then again, if you have any issues, that onboarding specialist who helps you get set up will be there through the whole first 30 days, making sure everything's going great. After that, you call our customer service anytime. If you don't get the response you want, ask for me. I'm the director. I'll make sure that we handle everything correctly.
Give them your name, Dave, again, and the phone number slowly.
Sure. So I'm Dave Mason, and that customer service number is 1-800-775-7790.
That's the one they use to register with.
That's right.
Okay. So got an issue. I deal with the issue. I don't ignore the issue. And I always suggest to them, Dave, at least a couple of times a month, they ought to call and act like a seller and or a buyer, test out the system, make sure it's working. Even though you've got very well-trained people, they're still humans. And sometimes every once in a while, a human does not do things the way they're supposed to do it. And so, I've got in all these years, I probably haven't had more than a couple of times where corrections were necessary, but still we're human. So, guys, you're running your own business. Pat Live is not responsible for your business. Our VAs are not responsible for them. You are responsible for making sure that the people you hire do what you hired them to do and checking in on them from time to time. That's just part of doing a business. All right. What should I have asked you here that I forgot to ask you?
I really feel like we covered everything. We talked about the free trial and waiving the setup fee, which I think are really important. And like I said, make sure that you mention Ron when you give us a call so that we know we've got the scripts, we've got the package, the plan, everything. Get that for you.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think I'm about out of questions here. I think we got them all answered. I'll think of them after we're through. That's for sure.
That's always how it goes.
I appreciate you taking the time with us today, sir. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. We've loved working with you for all these years. It's been a great relationship, and love having your students, come on and love to see new people get into real estate investing and sign up. So excited to see some new people.
One more thing I'm going to say before we quit. In fact, I remember back, I was having these same thoughts when I started using Pat Live, many years it was ago. And that is, golly, am I going to lose deals because I'm not answering the telephone? And the answer is, if a seller wants to sell the house, they're getting a human to answer the telephone. They know that human, by the way, is not you. So they might, the little bit of questions that you guys ask, they'll answer all of those. But then when the VA calls them, sometimes they're reluctant to answer some of them because they know the VA is not the principal either. When you get on the phone with them, anything you need, don't have an answer to. All you got to do is ask them when you get on the phone with them. You're not going to lose deals. You're going to lose a lot more deals by not having a human answer the phone than you're ever going to lose by having a human answer the phone. And if you don't believe that, ask yourself, in today's world, when you call companies, what do you get? You've got a voicemail system, for crying out. I'm going to tell you what I do, Dave, and I mean it. I get a voicemail system and I'm looking for a company and I got choice. I'm going to hang up and call the next one down. I ain't going through that voicemail crap. And I'm telling you, sellers won't do it either. They're pretty aware of the fact that you're not the only one out there buying houses. So you better have a human answer that phone. And I mean that in any business. I don't care what business you got. If you got a restaurant and you don't open till 5:00, you better have somebody answering that phone all day and give them the answers to any questions they're going to get asked anyway, for crying out loud. I can't tell you how many times I call a restaurant and I don't get an answer. Guess what I do? I go to another restaurant. That's what I do. And the people are going to do that. And buyers are even worse. I mean, well, in this case, we sell them on terms. Our buyers might call back several times. But God, I remember back when my whole life was just constantly answering the phone from buyers all day, every day in my house, for crying out loud. drove me nuts. And I always thought, well, I'm going to lose the sale if I don't answer the phone. Bull. You're going to lose your mind if you keep answering the phone.
That's right.
If the buyer gets a human and you contact that buyer back pretty quick, now you pre-screened that human and you got rid of all the dead wood. Think about all the buyers you're never going to talk to because they wouldn't qualify for the house if you gave them the money and signed on a loan for them. When I sell on terms, I want big down payments and I want them to tell me they can afford a good, healthy monthly payment, or I have no reason to call them, frankly. Because if they don't have money, I'm not going to even let them go into my house. I'm not going to give them the lockbox code. So all of that is done for you. Automation, systems, because that's the only way you're ever going to get your life back. And this company is taking care of almost all of those inbound calls for you for a lousy $200 a month. I don't think you guys charge enough, Dave, but don't tell your bosses that. All right.
I'll keep it secret between us.
I was just kidding. All right. All right, sir. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you. You did great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. See you soon.
Okay. Bye.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.